Every feature, every UI element, every button on your product should have a scientific proof. And there are three main questions that will help you to make this proof. What are your customers doing? Why are they doing that? And is it the most efficient way to do so? In this video, I'm sharing with you the step-by-step process about how to answer these questions. So before building something, let's be clear about why are we building that. For that reason, we should be clear about our feature requirements definition. To make life easier, I'm introducing the following feedback loop system. So in this system, we have the 4 stages of the feature development and validation that I'm going to explain right now. So I will begin with the example of the CRM integration feature. Right now it exists in our backlog and we decided that we might want to build it. So as far as we're considering building this feature, we're moving it to the in progress state. This is where all the product management and software development activities will happen. So once it's in progress state, let's define what this feature about. I open now the CRM integration feature, and here we're going to list all the facts and hypotheses that we have about this feature. So let's say the first fact we have about the feature is that users manually updating customer info. It makes their working time longer. That's why we want to make them more efficient and more happy about using our platform. So we want to introduce them the integration with the CRM system so their customers' information will be automatically pre-filled. We're treating this as a fact because we have learned from something. And in this table, we just need to state exactly where did we learn it from. Let's say HubSpot and Pipe. And we have learned it from our surveys. We're sending the user the surveys and they answered they mostly using HubSpot and Pipe. Right. So these are our facts. They have a proven source. And now we want to build this feature and we know that there is some uncertainty about it. So that's why we need to express this uncertainty in the hypothesis that we have about this feature. So in hypothesis, this is something that we are assuming. So let's say we're assuming that users will be more efficient and happy if we pull their customer data from the CRM automatically. So we also assuming that the CRM will provide the sufficient data for users so they will prevent manually editing the customer profiles. And we also assuming that users will prefer to figure out how to integrate CRM and integrate it versus continually doing the manual chore of manually updating the customer's information. These are our hypotheses and we have stated clear. So the first thing when it comes to development feature before learning and feedback, it's as we mentioned, we start with these feature requirements. And specifically, we start with splitting out the facts and hypotheses. The goal of customer feedback loop is be specific about your hypothesis and finding a way to validate this hypothesis. And once we have this clear structure about facts and hypotheses, we're becoming very specific about what are we going to validate. However, let's make it even more specific. And to make it even more specific, we should focus at one hypothesis at a time. So we have 3 hypotheses and now think about and prioritize which one is the most crucial for us to test in this particular feature development iteration. And let's say the users will be more efficient and happy if we pull their customers' data from CRM automatically. So I'll go ahead and put it in our hypothesis section here. And now it is very clear, straightforward. It's on the top level, our hypothesis. So whenever you opening the ticket with the feature that has feature requirements, you can see it clearly straight away that what is the hypothesis. So we don't need to figure out, okay, what are we building here, what are we doing, so on and so forth. Okay, after we have our hypothesis structured, emphasized, and focused to one hypothesis, it is time to figure out how we validate this hypothesis. And this is about how we getting a customer feedback. And there are a lot of different market validation techniques that we can use to validate this hypothesis. I'm not going to be covering them in this video because this is really big topics. So we'll publish another video soon where you can learn about them. But in this case, let's say that right now we have our metrics that 73% of our users are spending an hour per day to manually update their customer records. So we might want to check how much of those users who are doing the manual customer editing will introduce the CRM integration. But also the most important thing that we want to check is probably the time spent and the rate of manual customer editing. So let's say right now we have a 73% of customers spending more than 1 hour, and we want to decrease this rate like to less than 5% spending more than 1 hour. Or let's turn it into a different way. 80% of those users who right now editing customer profiles manually would not edit it after we introduce the CRM integration. So let's state it in this document and be clear about it. In the objective section, we just type in that manual customer profile management is reduced by 80%. So now I have it even more clearly. If we open our feature ticket in our MVP feedback loop Kanban board, we can see exactly what it is our objective for this feature development. And the next thing we should do before starting up the engineering of the feature is to be clear about how are we going to validate this feature. And as you mentioned, we have the objective that manual customer profile management is reduced by 80%. So we're gonna measure it by just analyzing the customer metrics. So there is a validation section over here, and we can choose whatever we prefer or create a new option. In this case, I will choose just metrics comparison, and it will be enough information for us to understand how this feature is validated. So now we defined our hypothesis, our objective. Now are we clear what needs to be done? Let's narrow it down to the engineering specifically. So we're gonna know what are we building and what not are we building. To make this happen, we're using the minimum viable feature description. And why I call it minimum viable? Because we want to perform minimum efforts that will let us validate our hypothesis in the quickest time possible. In a lot of cases, on this particular stage, we might even consider that we don't need building the feature. We just need to create a fake landing page or do anything like that. There are a bunch of different techniques of how we can validate our hypothesis without even building a product or building a feature. I'll create another video of them. But right now, we will think about it and we can just type it down here. So what we want to do, we want to create the CRM integration. What we don't want to create the CRM integration for every possible CRM right now. And as far as we have the fact that most of our users are using HubSpot and Pipedrive, we can just state it clear. Minimum viable feature would have the HubSpot integration and Pipedrive integration. As far as we are not yet sure that the CRM integration would be the best solution for our customers right now. And that's why we're doing this feature development to validate our hypothesis. We need to think about the way how we can do it in the quickest way possible. And of course, we can just create the tickets for our engineering team, and our engineering team will code all the integrations manually, and they will also need to create all the tests around. They will also need to perform the maintainability of those operations. And this is a bit an overhead if it comes to just figuring out would it work or not for our hypothesis validation. For that reason, let's brainstorm the ways how we can make this validation as easy as possible without spending a lot of engineering efforts. And in this case, it might be viable enough to just create the workflow, create the templates for workflow automation tools like Zapier, Make, or N8N. So we can just share the documentation with our customers, and then they can set up the integration with the CRM using the third-party workflow integration automation in one click without the need of us to, first of all, engineer this integration, and second of all, maintain those integrations. So I will type it. Of course, we might think that in the longer term, because the responsibility for maintaining this integration lies on the customer. And this is not okay. They will have a bit of an overhead by checking out if their workflows work successfully, or maybe there were some change or something happened with the CRM, our platform, that will break this integration. So in the longer term, we definitely want to build this integration ourselves, and our engineering team will take care of maintaining this integration. Thus, we will provide the smoothest possible experience for our customer. However, in this particular example, we are not yet sure even our customers will need this integration or they need. So all we want to do, we just want to create the simplest, the most frictionless method about validating if doing CRM integration will solve customer problem. So that would be our engineering requirements. And of course, these are the high-level requirements. The engineering team will make them more specific by stating exactly what should be done. But we're just starting with these bullet points and then figuring out what we can do next. And another part when it comes to engineering requirements is gathering feedback. And this is usually neglected by engineering team, but it should be the follow-up thing in the process. So the feature considered released when it has the implemented functionality and when it has the implemented mechanism for gathering the feedback, like analytics. So in our case, we've stated that we want to figure out how many people that were spending more than 1 hour per day to manually editing customers' data or using CRM integration and how it influenced their time of editing customers' data. That's why we also need to add to our minimum viable feature description the statement that about the analytics metrics we want to gather. So the metrics would be CRM integrations setup. Okay, number of CRM integration setup. So I want to see how many people set up this integration. So we want also see the average time spent customer profile editing by users who have CRM integration setup. So thus, as far as our hypothesis that users will be more efficient and happy if we pull their data from the CRM, these metrics will help us to understand if, first of all, users are interested in using CRM. Second of all, if their time is decreased, thus they are more efficient about editing their customer profiles. Okay, and now we have our feature requirements document ready, and it's gonna be forwarded for the engineering team. The engineering team will build it, so it will still be in the progress section of our Kanban board until engineering team build it. Once engineering team finishes the implementation, the feature is released, this item is moved to the build section. And in the build section, it awaits validation. And if we open up this ticket, we can clearly see that the validation happens by metric comparison. The objective of the validation is to check if the manual customer profile management reduced by 80%, and our hypothesis is that user will be more efficient and happy if we pull their customers' data from the CRM automatically. And this is what we need to do. So we can also define a deadline for this validation. We can also do some follow-up activities for our marketing team so they will communicate properly to our customers or to new customers that now we released this feature, try to use it. And let's say we give it like 2 months, that the marketing team will do like 5 email or some messages to customers that will help them know how they can save time for editing their user profiles. And by this time, we just letting it go and awaiting for the feedback. So let's say 2 months passed, our marketing team did some email, we get engagement, we got some traction, we've checked our product analytics dashboard, we already have some data, and now it's time to analyze our customer feedback. So we open up our requirements item again. Let's say we went to our product management dashboard, we've do some analysis, and then we want to briefly describe what we have seen here. And let's consider 2 possible options. The first one is that our validation failed. So our observations are following. People adding the customer data from different sources. Setting up CRM integration is not sufficient to solve their problems, so they neglect CRM integrations. Let's say our metrics show that number of CRM integration setup was low, so people were not adopting CRM integrations. We answered the first question, what are they doing? So in this case, they are not adopting CRM integration. In order to answer the second question, we initiated the interview with a few customers and talked with them a bit and understood that setting up CRM integration is not sufficient for them to get their data in place. So we answered the question why they are doing that. So now we can figure out what we can do to make these more efficient. So in that case, we got the feedback and we can see that our hypothesis that user will be more efficient and happy if we pull the customer's data from CRM automatically actually failed. So we just put hypothesis failed. And now we have the result description and we're gonna list the next steps, what we're gonna do. And taking into account the feedback that we got from the users, we can clearly state that one of the user data enrichment mechanism, we are not yet sure how it should work, what it's going to look like, but we know that users need a mechanism that will allow them to enrich their customers' data in our platform from multiple sources in one click. And once we have all of this information, it means that we learn the customer feedback. We've done it efficient, we've done it fast, we've done it in the probably best way possible. So we're gonna move our CRM integration item in our Kanban board to the validated section where we know that our hypothesis failed. There's one last thing that we need to do to make this feedback looping is consider that is just address the feedback. And we have the next step section that says one-click user data enrichment mechanism. So we're gonna copy it over and create a new item in our backlog. And this is how we done a loop. So we got the hypothesis about our CRM integration. We go through these processes, backlog in progress, build, validated. We will learn the feedback and we add it to the backlog again. This is how we iteratively improve product, learn feedback, and grow. Let's also consider another example. So let's say our hypothesis validation confirmed. So we have learned that our solution indeed helped, that people are spending really a long time, like few minutes a day, to manage their customer profiles versus few hours a day as it was before, after they introduced the CRM system integration. So we would say is hypothesis confirmed. Now let's erase these from our previous example and let's add the result description. So now result description will be the manual customer profile management rate is decreased by 78%. It means that it hit our objective and we are glad about it. So it means the CRM integration works. Congratulations. What can we do to improve this process even more? So, and in our case, this might be create integrations with more CRM platforms by investigating which platforms users are using. Also, we might want to have to move out the integration from the third-party workflow integration tools like Zapier to our in-house integrations. So as I previously mentioned that for validating this hypothesis, we decided to go with the short-term approach of using third-party workflow integration tools. However, in order to make the customer experience even better, so they won't need to care about maintainability, we're going to introduce the in-house integration tool where we will care about the mates of the integrations. And again, this is our hypothesis. So the hypothesis is that users are really having trouble with maintaining their integration. This is again our hypothesis. And once we create those tickets in the backlog, we will perform the same process as we just did, again by looping our hypothesis, facts, and so on and so forth. So congratulations, our hypothesis has been validated. We're gonna create the next steps items in the backlog. We move the CRM integration to the validated section. So that's it. That's how easily, smoothly, and predictably we can do the customer feedback validation in our minimum viable product. So everything that we build, everything that we think about has the scientific proof, and we know the direction that we're moving from, and we can measure our success, and we can measure exactly how efficient our customers are. So thank you for watching. If you want to watch more, click here. Also, if you're interested in learning the hypothesis validation technique for your MVP product, make sure to subscribe to my channel. I'm going to release videos about it soon. Thank you so much. And if you like this video, click the like button.